What is going on, everyone? Hope you're having a great day. Today I have got a juicy leak for you concerning AMD RX Vega, who has had its first actual benchmark spotted over on the 3D Mark 11 database, which stores all of the benchmarks that are run on that particular piece of software. So this isn't like some person saying, oh, my sources have told me this or that or whatever. No, this is the actual 3D Mark 11 database, which keeps records of the benchmarks that are run and all of the hardware that is used in those benchmark runs. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at here today. So here we are right now on the 3D Mark 11 database with this run from an unknown GPU, at least unknown to basically the software, because the graphics card hasn't actually been released yet with valid drivers. So this was run along with the 6700K, and it managed to get a graphics score of 31,873, which is the only number we really want to focus on in here, because that is what we can use to gauge its performance compared to other graphics cards, which we will do. I've made a graph so we can compare that with the 1080 and the 1080 Ti. Other things to note, though, before we get on to that, is that we can see it is running 8 gigabytes of video memory. So you can see let's get 8 gigabytes of HBM2, which is cut down from the 16 gigabytes on the Frontier Edition. And we could also see the core clock now for the very first time on this GPU of 1630 megahertz. The memory clock speed was 945 megahertz, so really no surprises there. And based on what we've seen so far with HBM2, the likelihood of getting a decent overclock on that seems very, well, unlikely. So based on what we're seeing here, how do we know exactly that this is RX Vega? Well, it really just comes down to the driver name ID, which is 687FC1, which if you guys have been following the Vega rumors for the past 7 or 8 months or so, that is the device ID for the top-end SKU for the RX Vega lineup, which was originally seen on the AMD demo of Doom back in last December, where they demoed Vega for the first time to the press, and you could see the device ID in the top right corner on Doom, which was 687FC1. So we know that that ID number is directly related to RX Vega. So that is how we know which card this is, and you can see that in the compare results yourself if you go and look up this benchmark, which, like I said, again, I will link down below. But I wanted to go ahead and verify these results against my own card, so I tested my GTX 1080 at stock and overclocked, as well as my 1080 Ti at stock and overclocked as well, along with the i7 7700K, and we'll go ahead and take a look at those results now. So at the top here, once again, you can see the RX Vega card pulling in 31,873, while the GTX 1080 at its stock settings got 30,030. So the RX Vega card at 1630 megahertz is actually beating out the GTX 1080. But overclocked, the 1080 does pull ahead. That had an additional 200 megahertz on the core and 300 megahertz on the memory, which is the same overclock I use on my 1080 Ti for the result we'll be looking at here below as well. But at overclocked on the 1080, it got 32,452. So that is beating out the RX Vega at 1630 megahertz. But once again, once these cards do come out, how far we'll be able to push the overclock on them remains to be seen. We just really don't know how much further it will go than 1630 megahertz, if that is even the stock boost speed of the card. For the GTX 1080 Ti, we can see it got 33,961. So that beats both the overclock 1080 and the RX Vega. And then for the overclock, which was once again 200 on the core, 300 on the memory, we got 37,391. So that's, much, much higher than what RX Vega can do when you consider the overclock there on that. So based on all of this, what do you guys think about the performance on RX Vega, being that it is just edging out a stock GTX 1080 but falling behind an overclocked GTX 1080, which can overclock really well, and they boost up a considerable amount. I mean, you can get these cards over 2 gigahertz, and that's what both of them were running at. They're running around 2025 to 2050 megahertz with GPU boost kicking in on this particular benchmark. So there we have it. We got our first ever benchmark for RX Vega that has been posted on the database over there, and now we just only have a few more weeks to go until we get to run some actual gaming benchmarks. But this is still a very good metric to just see where it stacks up against other graphics cards based on the graphics score, which is a pretty reliable source for that, because it doesn't really require any sort of optimization to kind of come into play or anything like that for a particular title that may favor one side or the other. So this is a pretty good metric to go by, I feel. So Based on that, it looks like it's sitting somewhere around GTX 1080 performance, possibly a little bit better than a stock GTX 1080, and once we can actually get our hands on it and overclock it and see how far we can go, then I guess maybe we'll have a little bit more information on it. But for now, this is all we've got, so let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to go ahead and leave a like on it and subscribe if you're not already. And if you are a long-time viewer, you can always hit the notification bell so you can find out when I'm uploading more rumors and tech news and other sorts of videos like this one. And I will catch you guys next time. Ciao.